I often felt behind in life. I started a lot of things later than most people. Creative work, sports, and game dev. So when people ask, is it too late to start game development at 30 plus? I get why the question exists. Here's the honest answer. Nah, it's not too late. But it's also not simple, not guaranteed, and not risk-free. This isn't a video about success stories. It's about constraints, advantages, and trade-offs, regardless of your age. And if you've already been making games, this still applies. Deciding whether to continue is often harder than starting.
I don't know. It's just not natural.
Starting game dev later in life comes with real downsides. Game dev is slow and mentally demanding. Progress often comes in small, frustrating steps. This usually means trading leisure time for learning. Evenings that used to be games or movies becomes hours in front of a screen trying to make something work. After working more than a decade in game dev, this pattern shows up again and again. Game dev isn't for everyone. Loving games doesn't mean you will enjoy making them. Creating games is mostly problem solving, designing, debugging, and dealing with things that don't work the way you expect. Later in life, the constraints are real. You have more responsibilities, less free time, less energy than in your 20s, and learning new skills takes more effort. You're also already on a career path, which makes changing direction riskier and more expensive. None of this makes you weak. It means you're being honest. As I'm getting closer to 40, I realize something. Time becomes your most valuable resource. And once you're in your 30s, you're very aware how limited it is. Failing doesn't just cost ego anymore, it costs time. It feels expensive. You start measuring decisions in months and years, not weekends. That makes starting something new feel heavier, even before you begin. The mental load is real. And it's exactly why starting after 30 feels harder. But here's the important part. The pressure isn't only a downside. If you use it correctly, it can actually make you better at choosing what's worth your time. One of the biggest advantages of starting later is risk awareness. You understand the consequences. That makes you more deliberate, more structured, and better at deciding what's worth your time. When I started drawing school at 21, I felt so behind.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
Most people there had been drawing since they were kids, but I quickly realized something. They had years of bad habits that were hard to unlearn. I didn't. I was a blank canvas. I had no ego tied to my skills because I knew what was bad. That let me focus entirely on learning. In about 5 months, I surpassed many of my peers. Not because I learned faster, but because I had the right mindset. Being a beginner can be a strength. When you accept that you're bad at something, you're more willing to practice consistently and improve deliberately. Consistency mattered more than talent, and that's something you tend to understand better as an adult. Game dev is the same. It requires many skills, and you may already have some of them. Design, marketing, art, code, or production. In your 30s, you also know how to show up consistently, plan your time, and make progress without relying on motivation. That combination matters more than starting early. If you want feedback, not encouragement, I offer paid one-on-one calls. We'll address trade-offs, constraints, honest decisions, not chasing dreams. Honestly, why haven't you started before? For most people, it isn't laziness or lack of motivation. It's context. At some point you had to choose a direction, and those choices were influenced by pressure, expectations, and risk. I had that moment too. My dad wanted me to become an engineer like him. I wanted to work in entertainment. My mom encouraged me, and that support is what allowed me to save up and go to drawing school. Without that, my path would have looked very different. That's how it often works. External pressure, fear of instability, or simply not having encouragement can quietly close doors before you even realize it. I was lucky, and not everybody gets that kind of support. That doesn't mean you failed. It means that the circumstances mattered. So how do you actually start at 30 plus without burning out? A common mistake is that assuming loving games mean you love making them. That's often not true. Creating games is very different from playing them. Personally, I enjoy making games far more than I enjoy playing them. Before committing, make a few very small games, follow a tutorial if you need to. The goal isn't originality, it's to see whether you enjoy the process of building, debugging, and problem solving. That is step 1, to test if you actually enjoy it. Game dev won't fit into leftover time. You need to decide where it goes. There might be 1 or 2 focused hours in the morning or evening. Consistency matters more than long sessions. That is step 2, make time deliberately. Be careful here, overdoing it early is one of the fastest ways to burn out. This isn't a sprint, it's long-term work. After some time, be honest with yourself. Is this a hobby? A serious long-term goal? Or was it a side quest you enjoyed and now you can put it down? That's step 3 to decide whether this is for you. There's no wrong answers, but not deciding is what drains energy. If you're starting later, there's a few mistakes that will waste years if you're not careful. This is one of the most common traps. You need to start small and finish many games quickly. That's how you actually learn. Game jams are great for this. Small simple projects teach you more than one ambitious you never finish. Your dream game is almost always too big. Don't make it. Mistake 1 is starting too big. Tutorials are fine at the beginning, necessary even. The mistakes is staying there. If you don't apply what you learned in your own small projects, you'll never build problem-solving skills. Game dev is mostly about figuring things out when there's no tutorial. Mistake 2 is getting stuck in tutorial hell. You'll hit walls that feels impossible, but it's normal. Game dev is often slow, and many videos don't talk about that. The goal isn't to avoid these moments, but to learn how to push through them. Every wall you break through makes the next one easier. Mistake 3 is expecting it to feel good all the time. You are in a different state of your life, with different priorities and taste than 10 years ago. Trying to match the pace and choices of a much younger developer is a losing game. Focus on what you actually care about and what fits your life. Mistake 4 is competing with 20-year-olds. Trends come and go. Making a game just because it's popular, like mascot horror, is usually a mistake unless you genuinely enjoy it. Early on it matters more than you finish a game you care about than making a marketable game. Mistake 5 is chasing trends. All-nighters and energy drinks don't scale. You don't need to suffer to make progress. A steady, sustainable pace beats short bursts of intensity every time. Mistake 6 is ignoring sustainability. What's success for you? Don't quit your job just yet and go full time, at least not to start with. Starting out, success might simply mean finishing a small game and figuring out whether this is something for you actually want to pursue. Maybe you discover that you love creating pixel art or animations. Maybe coding puts you in the flow. That discovery alone is a success. At 30 plus, it's less about catching up and more about choosing what's worth your time and being honest with yourself about the trade-offs. If going full time is something you're considering, I covered when it actually makes sense and when it doesn't in the video on the screen right now.